9/14/13, 9/9/13, and 9/16/13 are up for approval. Anybody making a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Visitors?
Okay, first,
No, you got Alpha's in there first.
yeah, Alpha Engineering.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. John Murphy, Alpha Consulting Engineers. With me is John Zervanis, representing the Stone Mill project. We wanted to give you an update of where we are. As you know, we've been planning to install quite a lengthy gravity line, including over some steep slopes. And there's some issues with that in terms of maintenance, and so we're concerned with the long-term economic effect of both the authority and the developer. So we're also taking a look at some other options, kind of taking a step back. Maybe a way to do a pump station that may be better. So we're actively doing that now. We did get comments from Mr. Bailey on our current design. We also have a letter from Benoni from the Duncannon Borough indicating there is both conveyance and treatment capacity for the proposed subdivision. So we're over that hurdle. So what we plan on doing over the next few weeks is working with your staff, looking at the various options, coming up with what we think is the best both economically and long-term maintenance-wise for all concerned, and coming back next month and discussing it in a little more detail. But we do want to give you an update. We are working on it. We're making some good progress with the township, and we feel we're getting closer. It's been dragging on for all of us, and we're anxious to get this thing rolling after all these years. The economy is slowly turning around, and in one respect, the delay may have had some positives in terms of the economy's coming around again in terms of the housing market. So we're trying to look at the bright side in that respect, Mr. Chairman. So we'll be working, obviously with your permission, over the next few weeks with Mr. Bailey, talking about some options, and we'd like to come back next month with a little more detail, and then obviously get your concurrence on whatever the best option is to finalize this. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll be going back to the township PC. We have a couple of minor comments there. We're getting pretty close on that too. So we feel like we're making progress. It's been a long, drawn-out process for all of us, but we feel we're coming down the home stretch finally, Mr. Chairman.
So the idea is to get a system that can be turned over to the municipal.
Yeah, we want something that we're both comfortable with from both the cost and the long-term maintenance standpoint, because once we finalize this, we're going to have to live with it, both of us.
Okay.
So that's that's our viewpoint, sir.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question,
Yes,
because I
ma'am.
didn't hear it. The borough said they don't have capacity in the conveyance line.
No, they said they have both conveyance and treatment capacity.
Oh, they do have it?
Yes, ma'am. The engineer wrote us a memo in the last week or so.
Okay.
Which we'll provide a copy to your engineer of that memorandum, ma'am.
Thank you.
But for both conveyance and treatment, they have capacity, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have nothing else, sir, at this time. We appreciate you hearing us for a few minutes, and we'll be in touch with Mr. Bailey.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Next.
Okay, first person on is Mr. Bill Bunt.
Mr. Bunt had been in touch with me and wondered if the board would be willing to meet in executive session on the matter, since it involves well, either actual litigation now or at least the potential of it. I didn't get a chance, of course, to do anything other than transmit the request to the board, so I think that they would like a response to that. There may be some other things that Mr. Mellon would present in a regular session.
Okay.
But I think that would be
Well, let's hear
first thing to take
the information from the regular session. I don't think we're ready for an executive session. Like, we don't have a full board, so we're not inclined to do that right now. So if there's something that you want, some information.
Mr. Chairman, you're saying you will not meet in executive session tonight?
Not tonight.
Okay, then I'm going to just ask for a moment to address, and I'm not going to be in the same situation I would be in executive session. Your attorney was courteous enough to tell me that you have filed proceedings before District Justice McGuire. That was actually, I think, mailed out of Mr. Shadow's office yesterday, so at this point it would be filed, I believe. We haven't received notice of it. I don't know exactly what it provides. What I would ask that you do is, if you will please reconsider that position. And not being in executive session, I'm not going to be, it's not as easy for me to discuss this with you, but let me just suggest to you that I gave your attorney a timeline. Have you seen the timeline that I provided to your attorney? If not, I brought copies of it. Okay? Do all of you have it?
I don't know.
Was that from last, did we
It
receive
was-
that last month?
It was since last month, Mr. Holman. May I provide you with copies of it?
Yes, please.
Okay, because I'm concerned, if you're saying that there should be something filed against my client and you haven't even taken the opportunity to look at the timeline, that's a considerable concern to me. It would almost look like you're predisposed to take action against my client without even knowing what's really been done. And I would trust that's not the circumstance. Now, Mr. Melham has updated that, I believe, with just some stuff that's occurred since I wrote. That's what I sent to Mr. Shadow. Dennis, you have yours? I'll give you.
Was that with your letter?
Yeah, that was my email, Dennis.
July
No.
31?
No,
or
that was
26?
with it on September the 19th.
The last two sheets are just
What, one each?
two sheets for each.
I'm not sure what's going on. I'm going to have Mr. Melham just give you an update of this.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the last, these have been the last two sheets, all right? Since these are
Please tell me after this.
Well,
if you would just replace, this is an update of the last two sheets because it carries on from the 19th.
These two sheets here? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's just, this one stops, this third sheet stops on the 19th.
No.
of September. And this merely picks up, I'm sorry, stops on the 16th. This picks up.
it's supplemental, Mr. Knob, because I sent this to Mr. Shadow on the 19th, and there's been stuff that's occurred since the 19th. So we wanted to give you an update up through today.
Do you have one for me? Because you know I'm important.
Susan, forgive me. There you go.
Thank you.
And Ed, you get one of these too?
No, that's
Okay,
fine,
all right,
thanks.
Okay.
There's been a tremendous amount that's gone into this project. And we received a notice from the township authority in July that we had already violated the 180 days. And I think if you check with your attorney, he's going to agree the earliest that you can count 180 days is September the 8th.
Completion.
Well, and we were working on it, but we had already received, you've already billed us to not be for work in July and August, that I would respectfully suggest at the very earliest you can say is September the 8th. And this is a, pardon me?
Excuse me, of a completion date.
We need to be completed within 180 days, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, and you took the position in July that we were already over that 180 days. We weren't. Look at your correspondence that I gave Mr. Shadow. We received a notice from the township on March the 8th. Add 6 months to March the 8th. You do not get July, Mr. Holman.
Okay.
Okay,
And we do not have a completed system at this time.
No, sir. We do not have a completed system. We have a system that's a very complex system. We have a system that's it's an expensive system. And we have a system that Mr. Morrison has been working on. And I'm wondering why, quite truthfully, the township is not recognizing the significant commitment that we made. I'm also hoping that what else has occurred in this township by other individuals in a supervisory position is not affecting this project. Because there was a litigation involving Mr. Morrison and Penn Township Board of Supervisors. And I'm just saying, I hope it's not affecting this situation. We have been trying to work, and I would suggest to you that if nothing else, please reconsider the litigation that you have filed, because we do not want to get involved in litigation with the township. And would you consider granting us an extension through the end of this calendar year to complete a system? And before you decide that, please come out to the property. Look at us. Let Mr. Morrison show you. He has the pump station. Am I calling the right thing, the pump station? Yep. The pump station's coming yet this week. Look at the commitment that he's made. Look at the boring that he's done underneath the road. I mean, this is not And when speaking to your counsel, he told me 5 years ago, one second please, 5 years ago you had a situation where you may have tried to enforce this when people didn't put their laterals in. This is not that kind of a project, Mr. Coker.
I'm coming in on this on the backside, okay? Being my second meeting since I've been put back on here. But I know this is a real hot button with the authority and with Mr. Morrison. So I asked Sam, I said, has anybody gone out there and looked at this, what has been done? And so he and I went out there 10 days, 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Roughly.
And walked it, okay? And that was when they started punching a hole underneath the driveway to get the pipe underneath the driveway, so they didn't disturb it. We walked the whole system up, down the ravine, up above, so we could see the building. And I asked Sam, I said, it doesn't look like anything's been done. No, I'm no engineer, and I'm no contractor or anything like that, I'm just, And I was wondering why, because I was looking at the timelines and nothing seemed to track. And then I thought, okay, that's been 2 weeks ago. So 4 o'clock today, I went back out.
Good.
And it was the same thing, except the pipe was in underneath. But nothing else all the way down. The only thing I did see was down in the ravine, there was some plastic netting and so forth.
There's nothing else we can do to get some of this before we get.
Was that all right?
There's nothing else we can do at this time. Everything's done we can do until we have pipe submitted. We want to change the pipe to a polyethylene pipe coming down the hollow. And we want to change the manholes and cover. We need to get those things straightened out. There's about 6 or 8 issues we need to get straightened out. What's specified in manhole covers we can't get, and Randy's been in touch with that. We can talk about that. So we need to get some, we're as far as we can go until we get approvals from you people on the stuff that we are requesting.
So in other words,
I have a
wait.
question, Ron. Is if we needed the approvals from us for different materials, why didn't that come to us sooner? Why wait until the last 2 weeks to start doing something there? I mean, that's my problem. You could clean everybody. The brush just got cleaned off there, 3 weeks ago, if that.
Here's some of the things that have happened during the course of the year. Originally, it was going to start this, and I give myself a month to do the project. Maybe that's not enough time. But anyway, so as the time went on, we were busy. Then when we had the EDU issue, I just canceled the project because I said, well, here, I don't know what I'm going to do. So that was put on hold. Scheduled other jobs, we get busy and everything, and then we sort of got back to schedule on this job. So that was a real one wrench. Then I was not under the impression there that we had to have such a criticism on the stuff, that's going into the system. We put in what the blueprint says, right? Everybody should be happy. Well, in our other jobs we do, we don't do that, we get in trouble. So I thought, well, what troubles we're having, I better run that thing, everything past the engineer, and you people make sure you agree with what I'm going to put in the ground. And there's where we're at.
That's normal protocol for a construction project, by the way, because I've been working construction for 30 years. I have to abide by them rules for the contractor I work for. I do not understand what the problem is.
May I add something to Mr. August's question about why didn't we approach the pipe situation earlier? Actually, we did. It wasn't just 2 weeks. We first, actually, Morrison, not my company, Morrison made a request back in July regarding HDPE pipe for the force main.
And I think the last time we were in a meeting, we told you, or I told you, I know I told you, that as long as we could get fittings for that piping, that there was not an offside ramp or an offside diameter, we would be willing to accept that. I know I told you that.
But we still don't have a formal, you may have told me that, Sam, but we don't have an acceptance. This is still before the authority. We approached Morrison, Mr. Rash in back of me approached the former engineer with the request. He was told, no, we've got to use SDR. I can go back through my emails, but it's early July. In the timeline, and Mr. Coker, this timeline is accurate for what it has. We've not over-embellished anything, to my knowledge. It was at Morrison's and our insistence that we pursue the issue of HDPE pipe because it's a better application for this situation. So Mr. Scholl left the company, Mr. Bailey came on, and in the timeline here, there was and I'm not trying to point fingers, but there was a hiatus at the Hill office to process our formal request on the HDPE pipe. Mr. Bailey, when he came in, he apologized on behalf of the company, said it was a mistake with one fellow leaving and me taking over. And he was very quick to discuss the situation with me, and then from that point we made our submittals. Charter Pipe from Titusville has sent information to your engineer, to Mr. Bailey. And to my knowledge, my honest knowledge, we know it's a better product. It's a more expensive product. That's why we want to use it. We're afraid on that hillside, yes, your specs call for SDR across the board. But on this hillside where we're putting in this force main, Brock is concerned, so are we, that over time the SDR pipe, the cemented pipe will pull apart. That's why he's offered to pay. It's his nickel, and it's not a nickel. He's brought in tonight. He brought in these samples to explain to you why it's a better system, why it's a better pipe. Charter will confirm it, but we do not have a formal approval. We don't even have an informal approval from the authority that we can use this. To the best of my knowledge, there's no. Had we, he'd have ordered the pipe.
Just for edification here, I talked to Mr. Rash on August 20th. At that time, I told Mr. Rash that HDPE pipe is not acceptable because in the developer specifications for sanitary sewer construction, that SDR 21 PVC pipe is what is listed.
Right.
That was August 20th. Okay. Since that time, at that point in time, you had submitted a pipe from HDPE, and you even admitted to this that it was the wrong pipe that you submitted. Since then, we had a subsequent submittal.
Did Morrison submit it? Yes.
Yeah. Since then, we had a subsequent submittal of HDPE pipe, which I had told you at that time. My knowledge is it has not been accepted because there were some concerns there.
Right.
So, if you want to justify the timeline, it was August 20th that Mr. Rash and I spoke to one another.
Let me also address it, if I may, Randy, that the July 31st was my written request to your company, to Ben Scholl. Actually, I copied you on that, but I don't know if you've taken your office yet. On the July 31st is when and this was my first contact with your company regarding the HDPE pipe. Mr. Rash had a previous conversation with Ben on that. You came in, as you say, in August. That's fine.
And I did apologize because there was I thought it was taken care of and it wasn't, so that is correct.
Yeah.
I think there was some concern on the authorities' behalf that HDPE pipe had some internal dimensions not equivalent to the PVC pipe as it was to be an equivalent. And we were still leaving that out there, and I let you know that still has not been decided upon. And, as far as the submittals are concerned, there's, in the specifications here, the developers here, there's a certain protocol that's supposed to be followed for submission of submittals. Doesn't even come close to that. They're supposed to come from your office, noting that you have reviewed them and you stamped the drawings. That has not occurred. So if we're going to start doing protocol, I think we should start following the book.
My point of coming here is to ask you to, in regard to what Mr. Shadow filed yesterday that I have not yet seen, to let you know that we do not want to get in litigation with Penn Township Municipal Authority. We would like to resolve this issue. We are going forward with the project. This project will get completed. If you come out Friday, you'll see a pump station. Look at that 180 days. I'm concerned that you tell us we violated it even before it ran. Look at the fact that you waited 55 days from the day we applied to renew our reserved EDUs until you responded.
May I comment?
Yeah, if first, Henry, may I make a comment? Mr. Bunn, I think one thing that should be clarified, I believe that it was DEP approval that was triggering this 180 days to start. That apparently occurred in January.
February 19th.
Was it February? I thought it was
No,
January.
actually it was January.
Oh, okay.
And what I'm not sure that the board knew that, in other words, we were looking at the January date initially. The board wasn't aware that notification had not gone out to Mr. Morrison until, was it March 8th?
I have, if I can use your desk here for a second.
So that may explain some of when the 6-month period was working from. We had different time frames because it was supposed to be triggered by the DEP approval. But in fairness to Mr. Morrison, I'm not sure that he knew about that until he received a letter from the township. I don't know that for a fact, but giving everybody the benefit of the doubt, he may not have known about the DEP approval till March 8th. But we were working on the assumption that the clock was starting in January.
Well,
For some period of time.
I'm going to conclude my part of this. Mr. Melham and Mr. Morrison have engineering stuff to talk to you about. I would like the opportunity to work with you through your attorney to see if we can resolve matters so that we don't end up in a lawsuit. And I would just ask that you give us consideration to avoid that.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, I'd like to make one more comment. Upon the purchase of this property, were you not aware that you were going to have to hook up to this system? No matter how many units you had, whether it was 1 EDU, 10 EDUs, or whatever your requirements for sewage was going to be required to be hooked up into our system. Am I correct?
I'm lost there, Henry. The only thing I can tell you is this.
You've had a right-of-way across that property since the
It
purchase.
was my personal choice to connect. It wasn't the township forcing me. It was my personal request from the township that I make it go into the plan. That was my idea and my suggestion.
You never had a requirement by the township to do it for 1 EDU.
I'd have to look back there, and I can't honestly sit here and tell you anything about that, because I'm lost in the shuffle with it. I had.
Am I correct, there was a designated right-of-way across there? You didn't have to buy that, or did you have to buy that after you bought the property?
No, I didn't even know anything about the right of way until I investigated the sewer, wanted to hook one there. And I think I might have talked to Sam at that time, or somebody come in and say.
So the easements were already there.
Bob was in there, I don't even know if Mr. Shaker's involved there, but I knew that there was a question of even if it was reserved a 30-foot right of way up through there.
See what happens, you come, you get drug in.
I didn't think that. I don't know.
Okay, what I'm getting at,
Yes.
even with that off the table there, that statement, the simplest of the project, it's not that complex to put a gravity flow system in. I'm sorry. I've put many of them in. The gravity flow side could at least been done by now. That would have been in good faith construction practices to be trying to do your best to fulfill what you could, not worrying about that part of it. We would have got through that. We faithfully and diligently have worked through everybody.
Anything, because it seemed like I wasn't, in hook one, I couldn't hook one. EDUs were available, not available. That went on for 2 or 3 years.
But you had 1 EDU bought and paid for. You were supposed to hook that EDU up. Whether the other ones came or not, that was a requirement. Am I correct? 1 EDU.
What do you want me to do? Can I put a sand mount in for the 1 EDU? I'm not here to
Anyhow,
fight.
with that right there, 25 years ago, I went and got certified for it, okay? Now's a fine time to present that that's exactly what you're going to have, because it's been around for at least 25 years on my certification, okay? I don't have an issue with it, with the exception of the concerns that they have, making sure that we can get compatible parts and it's not going to become obsolete. All right, Bill had asked, Mr. Bunn had asked whenever he first came up here, if we would be willing to delay the process with the district judge.
Yes.
Bill had asked, you don't mind?
No, I also asked for an extension.
Thank you. He had asked for an extension to the end of the year.
Yeah.
All right. I'm prepared to propose to the municipal authority that we grant Mr. Blunt's request to delay legal proceedings and give Mr. Morrison an extension to November the 5th. That'd be the day before our next month's meeting.
Well, there is an issue with King Court that I don't know if anybody in this room is aware of. It's going to impact that same, and what the issue is.
All I'm looking for is good faith effort on your part
By November 5th.
by November the 5th. That's, I would like to propose that as a motion on the floor.
Making a motion?
Yes.
I'll second it.
We have a motion on the board, and second.
We're going to get approval, so we need to.
All in favor, say aye.
Discussion.
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 Are you guys happy with that?
When Sam says a good faith effort, let me go back to the King Court situation. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. I went over and met with the home. I know you and I met with Sam a year ago. But anyway, their concern is how much open ditch. We're going to have to be slowed down there considerably. When I did the probe out there, when I did the road boring underneath, they want all the ditches closed up every day. There's people come out from the home with or without their permission. Somehow they get out and they're wandering all over the
Yeah.
place. Now, that's going to be a slow process, and they're worried about the trees, the steps. They've been good to work with. I don't want to piss them off and just go in there and rip and tear everything. Just going to. And so far, they've been great. And every time I go across the driveway, we're going to street, and that's.
All I ask for is a good faith effort. If that means you gotta work with King Core and they're slowing you up, I don't have a problem with that. All right? But I'd like to see a little bit more initiative on your part. I'm sorry. Yeah, all right?
Where exactly does the pump station go, Rob?
It's up on my property, top of the hill there. It's clearly marked there. It's by one of the telephone poles from TP North up over the hill there.
Is it at the top of the hill?
No.
No.
It's across from the upper retention pond to the left.
It's one of the lower points.
Yes.
Everything gets pumped from, everything gets down to it, everything gets pumped up.
Did you say you expect the station to be delivered this week?
Yes.
Right.
We got to get over the manhole issue and the pipe issue, so I can. That's where I'm at here. I'm not here to argue with everybody pointing fingers.
Are you saying that November the 5th is, you're still concerned about November the 5th?
As far as being complete, yes,
No, but that wasn't his, with all due
It's not
respect,
my
that's not
motion.
what you
That was
said.
not my motion. My motion was I need you to show us that you're gonna make that thing by November the 5th. Have substantial work done by November the 5th.
Do we want to put a percentage on that?
I don't know if we want to put a percentage, how do you report it?
He's saying it's only a 1-month job.
No.
And that's before we got involved with.
Okay, I
Well,
just want to make,
he's-
I want that in record a minute, the statement you just made earlier, okay? That's the only thing. It's on the
What's
minutes.
that?
He made a statement of 1 month, he figured it was gonna be done earlier, and now I know it can't be done. I agree with him. I don't have an argument with it's longer than a month project. I do not have an argument with that. But be careful how you state things, because
Well, why don't we work with a completion date rather than this thing percentage, you know? When can you have this thing done?
Fair question. Well, according to this, it'd be December the 10th. I think it was.
December the 10th?
We're hoping by the end of the year. It depends on the weather. There also is an stream crossing. I don't know if you guys are down. There's probably not much water down there now. At the beginning of the year, it was flood through there.
There wasn't any water in there when Sam and I walked it 2 weeks ago.
Well, let's go to November the 5th, substantial progress. And from that point on, we can determine whether,
You happy on a month-to-month basis?
Month by month, you mean I don't have a problem with that. I just want to say okay or.
I understand what you're saying, we want to move too.
Yeah.
You know, the same as you do, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
it's
weren't
been,
substantially completed, what you were saying was make a good faith effort. And if you're asking us to make a good faith effort on a month-to-month basis, I think that's a very fair resolution to the action that has been filed with Mr. McGuire, that we could maybe just put that on hold.
That's what I'm asking.
will you guarantee us that this will be done by that December 10th deadline, though, even projected?
I wouldn't even want to put a guarantee on that. Well,
I mean, you had all, you've had, never mind, beating a dead horse.
I have a question. There was something about type of pipe and maybe another matter that sounded like a technical thing about a choice that maybe could be made. If those are still hanging in the air, I don't want there to be confusion about those that goes beyond tonight. If they can be resolved right now, let's clear the air and at least you'll know what you can put in or not put in.
There's a motion on
Can
the,
we finish?
you have a motion on the floor.
Can we finish this motion
Sure.
first and then deal with them one at a time?
You want to repeat the motion again for my benefit?
I moved that we delay, or, we delay the legal process with the district justice. And we grant Mr. Morrison an extension until the 5th of November to have a good
For
faith.
substantial completion.
Well, a good faith effort.
And you and Mr. Coker can determine whether it's a good faith effort or not. All right?
That challenge.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, very good.
And we'll,
All right,
other further extensions could be dealt with on a monthly basis.
all right.
Does that suit you?
We have a motion and it's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you. Thank you. You're gonna talk about.
Rob. Bring it on, what do you got? I'm sorry, that's your job, tell me where you want.
There you go. Here's what the pipe looks like, it's used together, here's some of the fittings. See, I don't know if anybody just passed that around here, already knows that he was certified 25 years ago, you don't need to see that. Anybody sees it probably don't need to see that, Ed don't need to see it, but anyway, you see it, there's no seam there, see, that's when it's all fusion welded together.
Yeah.
It's all done, it's permanent. I'm sure everybody knows about this.
Same process they use for gas pipe.
It's the same process that we use with
Use
the,
that cup in here, here's what it looks like. Here's
Low pressure system
Yeah,
first.
see, that's one of the-
These?
you see
No, they didn't use the cup.
They didn't use the cup.
They
pipe.
use phase fusion.
Just use.
They didn't use the couple fusion.
Mm-mm.
That's the difference, that's the biggest difference.
I didn't realize that they needed a special sewer.
This is,
Right.
see, that's how the.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Here's
Our project down in Phoenix did not have this.
No.
Same process. it just-
Same process, different,
We can
yes,
do
different pipe.
It
It has a different,
Green striped or
This
something.
here,
like
this
that.
is the strength.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
I've had,
no, each system pretty much is designed for its own material.
We haven't finalized the flushing.
Very similar to, yes, the HDPE, but that's
She's
what
already got
fusion.
it ready to go out. She didn't say anything. He said
Okay.
something about 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock or something.
If you pick the time, that's all right.
Yes, yes, because she needed to know it and she already typed it in and recorded it so that it would automatically set up.
That's good.
The only thing they
And I'm
don't
glad
do
of that
is when you
because
drive
that's what I was
through.
concerned about. We
You gotta make sure you
hadn't
got.
said it.
That's why they.
Now, you can check with him how those types sitting there, how she recorded it.
You're gonna be doing
Because,
it.
yes, she told them about,
You're gonna do
thank you for
overtime.
your cooperation. He told her that they could use this. And she said that in all the past notices, we've asked them not to use the water. And he said, oh, all right, then whatever you use to say. So she told him to refrain from using it.
all right, do you have a problem with using?
I don't have a problem with it, as long as it's proper material. I mean, basically, it's the same stuff as what we did. The only thing is I think you are.
Randy, you're okay?
Fine. Who's your
Can
vendor?
you give him certification?
The compatibilities
that he
for
can use
the,
that?
yeah, but almost,
Well, I'll have to review the shop drawings. That was a problem with the second submittal that came in. Mr. Mellon is quite aware. I've asked how many times, not only the size, which I believe is 2 inch, but I asked for him to confirm the DR pipe that was being used. I still have no satisfaction with that requirement.
Can we get that
Let
resolved?
me
I have
move,
I have an apology to make if I have erred here. I have an honest apology. I
I'm not gonna.
perhaps made a
let you guys
mistake by having
put on-
the
put on
supplier.
record.
Excuse me, I asked the supplier to liaise with Mr. Bailey. If I erred in not reading because those submittals obviously originally came from Morrison to your office.
Well,
I was not aware of the requirements in your.
there's a protocol set here, and at the point in time, I was just looking at these to be if they were in compliance.
Right.
I would have then directed you to this section to say, yes, but please make the submittals in accordance with the specification, developer specification.
We will do that. I honestly.
Because there's so many copies that you need to stamp them to say that you certified that they are approved as what was being specified on the project. We then will look at them and then review them appropriately.
We have not in previous
Yeah.
built anything with the authority in Penn Township, so
Well,
I plead honestly.
Again, I'm just new to the process here, but I'm going to go by what I see as what the requirement is, as well as.
Do we need to amend that?
Well, let me make a motion here that we approve the materials that Mr. Martian has shown us contingent upon Mr. Bailey's review of, what'd you call
And
it?
approval.
The shop drawings?
Yeah, the shop drawings.
The review and his approval of those shop drawings, that we approve the use of that material.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
So be it.
Discussion.
Discussion.
All I have to say, Rock, is I know you've been a contractor for a long time. You know the submittals, you know the rules, you know the process. This is no different if you wanted to have a variance. You submit it, and you just ask for it. I don't know what the problem is. Okay, they give you a 30-day time frame approximately. I've worked construction many a time. Sometimes it takes longer, I understand that, but it needs to be the proper process to make it go through. Yes, it's Perry County. Yes, we're hillbillies, but yet we're starting to become fairly technologically advanced, and we are kind of keeping up with the times. At least we're trying to. And you gotta operate that way. I'm sorry. All contractors work this way.
All right.
You've worked around same situations I have, same complexes. You know what the rules are. I'm sorry.
All right.
For the purposes of the minutes, is this approving HDPE pipe? Is that what it is?
Yes.
HDPE.
High density polyethylene.
High density, okay.
High density
Okay.
polyethylene.
You got that amendment to the motion then?
Contingent upon the engineer's approval of the shop drawings.
Okay.
And if you have any problems, please contact the board immediately, so we can expedite this.
Okay.
Okay,
All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
A couple other items, if you will, Mr. Chairman. One of the manhole lids, I believe that's an agenda item.
Yes. Do you want me to embellish on that? Well, one of the situations was, it came to our attention, was that out of this developer specification manual, that the manhole frame and covers that were specified in this document that I referenced is pretty much no longer available in the configuration that's being required. We've done our own independent research where I've contacted the foundries. I even brought 2 catalogs with me from Nina Foundry. One is the 11th edition, one is the 12th edition, which is the most current edition. In the 2 different editions, this 11th edition, the previous one, will give weight requirements on the manhole frames and covers. On the most recent, they no longer do that. The explanation that I received from Nina Foundries and East Jordan Ironworks was that basically the gray iron castings are of a higher quality, better quality material, and that it's a standard-wide procedure now across the industry not to give the weight of the material, of the component or assembly, but just to give the performance rating on the assembly. And what they do in that, they will rate them heavy duty, heavy, extra heavy, medium duty, lightweight. And there's some correlation there in what they will accept from a traffic loading standpoint. But that in mind, what we did was we reconfigured a detail number 9, we reconfigured to be in compliance with what we thought was the most appropriate casting that would be accepted by the authority for most typical applications. In this also, we would recommend that that detail replace the existing detail number 9, detail number 10 would no longer exist, and detail 11 would no longer exist. The revised detail number 9 is for bolted and non-bolted configurations, and in each case, you'd have your own application for that to occur, and the detail was self-explanatory, in which, it's basically the same casting, it's just one would have bolts, and the frame would actually be drilled and tapped.
Will we need to specify that it's not a bolt down?
Well, that would, right, we would have to say where we would require a bolt down. I also, based upon this revised detail, I present that for your comment and review, with the ability then to go back, if you find that acceptable, to go back and modify the written specification that's also contained in the manual. We could probably give more detail on where a bolted manhole and a non-bolted manhole are really appropriate. Okay? Any questions?
Did you recommend using this detail number?
I do.
You did?
We looked at this. It's based upon
Should be in the back.
information that was submitted by the.
Okay.
Just your manner, standard.
Standard, what do you think they have?
Standard remain.
And that
I'd like to propose that we accept the revised detail number 9 for manhole framing and cover to be included in our builder specifications. With the removal of, what'd you say, 10? Detail 10?
Detail 10 and detail 11. And how we'll handle that in specifications manuals, we'll just say, we'll put a blank page in there with a border and say, reserved for future. So that way, there will be a page that does exist that won't be confusing where we go from 9 to 12. Okay?
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is all.
That answers your question.
We have one more, Mr. Chairman. We have one more request.
He's a chairman.
Well, I know he's Mr. Chairman. I know he's Chairman. We have one more request with respect, and that is, we request a slight modification in the gravity line on the Morrison property itself to bypass 2 manholes, to go directly from manhole 5 to manhole 2. We did send Randy an e-copy of that a couple weeks ago. I have the date here. I'm not going to look at it now. I have a plan here. We took the liberty to try and expedite things on my anticipation that the authority might look favorably upon this. We took the liberty of amending the drawings. I have a set here. Well, the original 9 or 10 sheet set. It's a very quick, it won't take me long to show you this, and there's a reason why we like to bypass those 2 manholes that I mentioned, go directly from 5 to 2. It doesn't change any of the manhole inverts, it doesn't change any of the lines. All that will change will be in the receiving manhole. We're going to have a wide trough, not just a straight. We're not changing any engineering. There's a reason for this. Number one, it saves a couple hundred feet of unnecessary gravity at this point, which would help speed up the project. Number two, if in future the other 2 manholes are required, if the development of the Morrison property does proceed for those 2 other buildings, we can add that very easily under the original alignment, original position of the manholes. If you'd like me to quickly show you one plan, I'm happy to do it.
Is this something we need to submit?
Our discussion was before that Mr. Mellon forwarded me the information. I did review it, and I said I have no authority to make or accept this as a modification to the plan. I said you need to take it to the authority for their review and acceptance. This also may have ramifications in that the land development plan may need to be revised because you may have to resubmit that to the planning commission and the board of supervisors for their review and approval, because as it's shown, probably, was the plan recorded?
Plan was recorded, yes.
Well, then, it's a modification of the plan, so then it would need to be reflected on the revised.
We
final
thought about
plan.
that, yes.
Yeah.
But that has no impact from the grinder pump to the other parts.
None whatsoever. If you'd like me to take literally 30 seconds, I'll show you.
I don't have a problem with it. Whatever board wishes, I don't have a problem looking at it.
It's real quick.
You wanna look at it?
Yeah. Use your table, sir? All right, thank you. Thank you. Just right.
Need your current receipt.
On this plan here, gentlemen, this is on the Morrison track. Mr. Pope? That's all right. To answer your question here, your earlier question, here's the drive coming up. The pump station is located here next to the power. There's a power pole there. Our request, and this drawing already amends it, is this, here's the building with the lateral coming out, and we'll stub in outside of manhole 6. Our original plan has manhole 6, manhole 5, manhole 4 here, manhole 3 here in light gray, you can see that, thence to manhole 2. What we are requesting is that we bypass these and just go directly from 5 to 2. We're not changing any inverts or rim elevations, nothing. We have a profile in here.
You're not planning on connecting the
If-
office building up there?
If this was designed for the 10 EVs, but things have changed since we did this. If, to answer your question, sir, if these buildings ever become part of a Morrison portfolio, we would simply extend the building from manhole 2. We just do it like all the same positions, just run the lateral that way, rather than simply we'll have to build this one. It saves a couple hundred feet of sewer. And it also, to a certain extent, preserves if there's subsequent changes. Not our plan, but who knows? That's what we
Then you're deleting this.
We're not building this at this time because it's not, we're not building this at this time. However,
The original plan was not there then either.
the original plan was to put that in to serve these buildings, but things have changed now. This building will not.
So we're gonna delete this area and this.
At this point, yes.
Okay. Not just this. That's
No, but this was a change. This constitutes a change, and this.
I don't think it's long.
In truth, this will be built. Because this will serve the subdivision that's coming on the west.
Yeah, but it's not gonna be built as a separate. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, this is, it's not part of this present scope of work.
Our scope of work was to sewer this building.
So you were gonna revise this and submit it to Randy?
This is our, this is the revised set. He does have an e-copy.
Concern I have is.
Yeah, they're all covered up here.
Well, we have. I didn't want to take too much.
Well, when are you on?
Cleanouts on this. Cleanouts on
About
this.
this point.
Okay, he's not gonna say anything, this guy's
Well,
already
then we stop
talked.
there. We stop that out.
So,
If you want to clean
you
out.
know, if you have a comment you wanna make.
No, I don't.
Oh, you didn't wanna ask him
Just
for,
wanted to see what's going
It's either
on.
that or continue.
Okay.
Take this and disappear
okay.
out of your hair.
Well, we didn't want to
See you
run
guys. See ya.
What's that about the man?
See you later.
Well, no, what I'm
forgot how
saying is,
excited
you put a
you
lateral in here and he's
Yeah.
terminating and standing the lateral.
And I should've had this thing turned off a while because they're not doing anything, but what the heck?
That's typical. I mean, I just want to clarify that so we make sure that it's for repair. You see what I'm getting at? I mean, either way, it needs to be able to be serviced. There's no way to service, there's no service point in that at all.
Randy, do you have any comments on this, please?
I did review it, I saw what they want, how they wanted to connect the facility in and eliminate the one section. And, it is almost, it's under 10% slope. Inverts are gonna be maintained from the existing, shown previous, right? So I don't have any issues with that portion of it now. But my point of view was that you folks have already seen this and gave your approval to it. I don't have the ability to override that.
I mean, here's another thing, if this would have been brought up that we could, knew it was here, that the plans were up here, maybe we'd had a chance to look at it, we made some discussion this evening too, but that's all right, I mean, it's not a big deal.
Well, this just came up, this just did just come up a couple of weeks ago. As it would save some time and save some money, and he's spending a tremendous amount of money on this, which is his business. And so I felt, as I say, if we have these drawings there, if the authority would like to,
From another standpoint, looks good to me.
My concern I got is to make sure that the engineer's happy with that end, temporary end result is what I'm concerned about, the moment for servicing that, that's all I am concerned about. Other than that,
that's fine, gentlemen, that's all.
yeah.
You want me to see it?
He needs a motion on it.
Thank you. I'll leave this copy if you would like. Would you like just a copy here for this, or no?
Is that part from the wet well up through there, is that part of that process that's gonna be completed by December? Or is it just to the wet well that you're
Well, we'll
planning?
concentrate on the wet wells in the King Corner first, I realize that I need to go in on the soil, and I'd like to do that because the report is on for 2 years.
I mean, to connect that building up there, the whole thing technically has to be done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now that's,
Well, we-
and I understand the reasoning of shortening it, I can see that, it makes sense.
I'm not aware there are any other items, are there? Randy, any other items?
No, just what Mr. Holman had stated, possibly is at one end, we need to address that for.
We'll let it clean up, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andy, do you need anything else on the manholes?
Not that the manholes weren't so much the issue as.
It covers, I mean, we
It
need
covers.
other submittals.
What I will, Mr. Baum had given to me, Mark Baum from East Jordan, it's pretty much what we detailed our manhole cover and frame detail on, and that was,
I just wanted to make
That
sure
was
if
the-
you needed anything else from us.
no. Well, I will need everything in the format of a formal
And
submittal.
it has to come to us, we see
It
it.
has to come from, that you had it, you reviewed it, you stamped it, you submitted the required number of copies, because then the whole process is you get so many back, we retain so many copies for ourselves and for the authority. And I wasn't making that an issue at the time, but I was gonna bring that to the table because we have to have the copies, as you know, the contractor or the owner's gonna need copies to have on site. He's gonna, okay. Also, we'll need copies, if somebody has to go out and inspect it, they'll have a copy. We'll have a file copy, and then there will be an authority file copy, so that's all part of the program.
Yeah, I didn't realize we had to treat it like just a regular commercial construction site.
Well, I mean, that's how the developer specifications are written. That's how I'm gonna proceed until I'm instructed of it.
It was ours, and I didn't think anything about that, but yeah, you're right, we have to do some metals, just like any other project.
Is there any piping in the ground at the present moment?
Just,
The piece center of the driveway of King Corner's driveway is 8-inch SDR 35 in there.
Has our inspector been informed of that?
No.
That's not a good thing.
Well, he won't look at it, I mean, he can.
I would encourage you
it's not
to
covered.
address the inspector every time you do a pipe installation.
That's not
That
me.
is standard protocol. Please adhere to that.
Here's what I was told when we this was nothing to do with Randy. Before we buried anything, I was supposed to call his,
Brian Lees from our office?
Before any, I was instructed to call before anything was buried to call, is what I was told. And nothing was buried, they can't see underneath the driveway, it's bored under the pipes in there.
Ben had given us a name that he thought would be the inspector from your office.
Would it be Brent Wolf, Brian Lees, maybe John Kilmer?
Actually, I think he gave me your name, but I think.
Okay, well, I'll do it.
I think he gave me your name because at this point he had told me he was leaving, so.
Yeah, that's fine, and I wasn't privileged to that conversation, of course, because all right, that's fine.
Please make sure the inspector is kept up and informed. That is one of the important parts of please. That would be very beneficial for all of us. It's, you know how it goes. Been there, done that before. Don't want to dig it up, please.
No pipe will be covered without inspection.
And that's the concern I have.
And again, I apologize if there was, something was said and I was not informed of it.
Okay, we need a motion for what, an amended plan, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Who wants to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second? Second. Okay, motion, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Well said. I'll get something up.
That's election day, Doc. That's election day.
Yeah, maybe I better run for president, right? There you go. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, I guess we're
Next,
ready.
our engineers, visitors, next visitors.
We have another
The only other person who has signed up is Mr. Bob Johnson.
Oh,
How about Mr. and Mrs. Crick?
Well,
observers, critics.
Maybe. That's World War II election. World War II election.
All right. We want the engineer's report?
Are you all in receipt of the engineer's report that I forwarded on? Okay. The projects that we've been working on include the Market Street Bridge Force Main project. As you're aware, the bridge occupancy license was issued by PennDOT. You do have a copy of that. Also, I believe it was on the same day, I returned a check that was the fee for the paying of the force main on the Market Street Bridge, which then PennDOT says they did not require. So I returned that to the authority's office. Low pressure sewer extension project plans and specifications have been completed for the project. The project has been advertised in the Harrisburg Patriot News on September 19th and the 26th. Bids will be received by the authority until October 7th at 2 p.m., at which time they will be opened and read aloud here in the authority office. Okay.
Who has to be here?
It's all we're having, we published it was a bid opening, so it's not a formal authority meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so I will be here to accept and open and read the bids with somebody from the authority. You know, I don't know if it's going to be
Karen is going to, Karen is our secretary, and she has said she would stay and do that.
All right. So that's who I thought it might be, is Karen. I had here, currently, we have 6 plan holders, but that's been revised as of today in the afternoon. We got an additional plan holder. Do you want me to read who the plan holders are?
Yes.
Okay, we have Rogel out of Harrisburg. We have Mid-State Utility Contractors out of Lebanon. We have G&R Charles Excavating out of Port Trevorton. Detraglia Excavating out of Mechanicsburg. Lankers Excavating out of Enola. Wexcon Incorporated out of Mooresville, Pennsylvania. And Trinity Excavating out of York, Pennsylvania. I personally contacted probably 20 or so or more contractors to get them interested in the project.
So one more time.
Go ahead.
Rogel State,
Mid-State, G&R Charles,
Detraglia, Lanker, and
Wexcon, W-E-X-C-O-N Incorporated.
W-E-X.
W-E-X-C-O-N Incorporated. They're out of Mooresville.
Okay.
They did the Marysville project.
Okay, and
And Trinity Excavating out of York. That was the addition just late today. Just Trinity stopped by and picked up plans.
Who did Municipal?
Flexcon.
Okay?
Flexcon, yeah. W-E-X-C-O-N.
Okay, just one minute.
So, you know, I think we got a good sample of people who showed an interest in, you know, hopefully we'll get.
should get a decent price out of it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of better than what I thought for the size of the project. I mean,
Well, I placed a lot of phone calls, and some of the bigger guys, they just said they weren't interested.
It's just not,
It's not economical for them to mobilize and demobilize travel every day to get here to do that size of a project. So I had quite a few call me, actually, when they saw the ads, so.
yeah, it's not a very large project. I thought maybe there would be
No.
a couple local contractors that might have got their notice in it, but I'm surprised that they didn't.
Sunshine Hills Water Treatment Storage Project. What we're doing is we're in the process of developing the drawings. We've gone through some deed information for properties to figure out what the right-of-way widths are. We have, it's 15 feet each side of center, and then we're showing usually a 10-foot utility easement, sidewalk easement. But on the one property, it was actually 50 feet wide as you go down. I can't think of the name of the street. It's off of Princeton Street. The one that comes down to like the trailer court.
Jefferson.
Oh,
Jefferson. On that one corner, it's like 50 feet in there. So what we've done also is.
Is that you?
Jefferson?
In the corner of Jefferson, where? Jefferson and Princeton?
Is it Jefferson and Princeton, or is it the other Jefferson? The other
It's
Jefferson?
Jefferson and Eisenhower.
And Eisenhower.
Oh, Jefferson and Eisenhower.
Yeah. Because I think you folks are on the other side, are you not?
Yeah.
Because I think they pulled your deed information. So we laid that out. We took the existing distribution system schematic, I'm calling it, to lay out what's there that we think we're going to find.
Rough draft.
Yeah, well, and that's my biggest concern. We may end up having to revise some things with what we designed based upon where the actual water line is if they encounter it.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to encounter it anyway to make the switch over for the service connections to some degree. But anyway, so we're going to start hitting this pretty heavily in the next week to 2 weeks. Stone Mill Estate Sewer and Water. I had Glace Engineers contact me in regards to the sewage pump station. There was a resolution that we had drafted up in regards to what the specifications need to be for that. It's a work in progress. I was hoping we could maybe take action on that tonight, as if you saw.
I had a chance to look over this.
Yes.
And I got a couple of questions on
Sure.
that. As you probably wouldn't. I want to know what type of pump station is required at Martian headquarters, and does this resolution cover that type of system? That Martian headquarters, to my recollection, was a beginning of a quadplex,
Yes.
the duplex, with provisions to be able to put 2 additional pumps in that.
Okay.
They were E1 type pumps, or
This is not the E1 specification. This is a much bigger pump station than.
This is like the ones we have down at the lower end of Duncannon and stuff like that. These are wet wells.
Yeah, these are wet wells.
True wet wells.
Yeah.
All right, and then my other question on that is who would be responsible to maintain it and provide the electrical power to service it? Right now, I think with the Martian development, they are required to.
They are going to service it and
maintain
maintain it until
service
they get to 10 EDU. Okay, once they get to that, then it's financially viable for us to take it over and manage it.
Okay, we have a motion on that.
Yep, there's a motion on that somewhere, and that was the reason we wouldn't take it over until we had enough customers hooked into it or enough service in it to pay for the bills.
All right, can we tie something like that to this? I know this is not, you're asking for an adoption of this resolution, but if we adopt this resolution, can we tie something like that to the Stone Mill Estates to say you need to have X amount of EDUs?
Well, phase one's going to have 25 units on it at the present moment, if I'm not mistaken.
But they're not going to come on all
I
at the
know,
same
that was their
time.
proposal.
Right.
And I think you're going to find that we're not going to take something over until they get so many
Right.
dwelling units on it also. So I kind of understand where you're going with that. I think that's probably something that could be negotiated once we see what their design is, because it would come when we decide how we're going to take it over.
Okay.
You know, see what I'm saying, Sam?
I understand what you're saying.
I mean, as far as us putting it in there, that's for everyone or certain EDUs, I see your point too. I mean,
But that's neither here nor there. I guess right now, Randy's asking us if we want to adopt this if we would, if we were willing to adopt this
This is
resolution.
pretty much our generic, like our wet wells that we have in place right now, very similar to what they are, with the rail systems on them.
I don't have a problem doing it.
There's two kinds here.
Yes.
Suction lift,
Right, there's
Yeah.
one like we
That's
have in
code
Oxon
pump
Can,
station.
there's one like we have down at Cove.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how I read that.
And it's going, and the first type is mandated unless it's not susceptible to it, and then you gotta go to the other one.
Right.
Am I correct?
Right.
That's the way I read it.
All right, I move that we adopt these, this resolution.
What's the number?
Yeah, what do we, no, we don't have it.
Yeah, I didn't put one in, I thought.
Oh.
It'll be 213, I don't know.
21310,
Downhill.
21310, what is it, 10-2?
No, we stopped doing that. We started going by the number of it, how many we've done this year. Because you're gonna have the date in here,
All right,
so,
can I make the motion that we adopt this resolution?
and I'll let you know the
and
number.
The appropriate number will be assigned.
Or we can adopt it next Monday, or next Monday.
I'm not gonna be here. You can do it though, if you wanna do that.
No, adopt it and it can be numbered later.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll move that we accept
Just
this
adopt-
resolution, to be numbered at a future date.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Okay.
Okay, motion is second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right. Moving on, we already talked about Mr. Mellon and being a consultant for the Morrison project. He had submitted plans to me showing a modification to the existing design, and I had informed him that he would have to make a presentation to the utility meeting for you to review.
Are you satisfied with the plan at the end of the line, or going to the manual?
Well, I think,
For the one unit is
yeah,
on an 8-inch line.
I think a clean out would be sufficient, don't you agree? That's, okay, that's what I marked down, so. Okay. Sanitary sewer construction material specifications for the developers. Again, we've already covered this, just saying that we've already approved the detail number 9. Again, we're gonna combine 9 and 10 basically together into one detail. Then we'll be detail 10 and 11 from the specifications manual, and we'll just say review, basically reserved for future. That way we'll still have a page in there with a number of a detail on it, but it will be basically an outline and just blank. So,
The field representative, do we have any existing manholes or manhole extra lids around in the room? Is that-
Yes, they are down at the Cove wastewater treatment facility.
Okay.
And we have one 24-inch in our system. How that got there, we do not know. You see, asked Mr. Schaefer before he left.
Oh, yeah?
We have one 24-inch diameter manhole in the system. The rest of them are 26. I can't. Yeah, we do. To answer your question, we have risers, and I think we have an extra lid down at the treatment facility.
Okay, I was always curious about that, I just never had a chance to have, I've always wanted to ask and never.
Yeah, am I correct? There is one down here, or do we use that one? Manhole lid.
I think the manhole lid's gone. I don't know, I'd have to look.
Then we probably have to get another one
I mean, we ought to think about having one on stock.
Yeah.
Just for damage purposes and everything else, you know. At least one, but I know when you go to foundries, when they set the mold, you might as well get a couple if you can. And that's kind of what I was wondering.
Well, we're gonna need them for, are we gonna need them for this low pressure system?
Is there a manhole?
no, but I wanted to back up to that because we talked about something we didn't even discuss, you know, that clean.
I thought there was gonna have to be a manhole at the point of connection, at the baseball field.
There's gonna be clean outs, they're gonna be like a valve meter type of frame and cover, you know, they're much smaller than an actual manhole. We are making a connection to the manhole up on Schoolhouse Road. we're just gonna core the manhole, itself and make that connection into that manhole.
He wants to know if there's manhole lids inside.
And going back to that, Mr. Holman had expressed the concern about having that one clean out in the middle of the field and it be unprotected, but, you know, things that we talked about, maybe putting bollards around that as a source or means of protecting that from the farmer from plowing the field and hitting those facilities. Or I even thought maybe we could put, you know, maybe some arborvitae in the four corners, just so that he's not gonna run over those either, so it would kind of just give some type of barrier where it's gonna prevent.
When he comes along with his chemical sprays, that's pretty much gonna take care of that.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, my concern is he's gonna have 6 foot tall corn down there, he's gonna be down through there with that harvester with a 5 ton, 10 ton of chops in the back there, and he's gonna wail right into that stuff, cause he ain't gonna see it until he's on top of it. And I do have a concern with this.
I have questions whether that right of way included above ground protrudences.
That's the other
I
concern.
do not know.
I don't think it
I
does.
don't know.
There's a lot to bury a line, and the protrudences need to go down the ward property, or on where the
Up at the.
where the right of way already
Right away at
exists.
Schoolhouse Road, or at the right of way where makes the connection at the ward property.
Or if there's going to be a valve box or some kind of protrudence, it needs to be on the existing right of way where the lines are already buried now. Join it in there. In other words, on the ward property or the school property. I don't know where that's going to be. But I'm pretty sure that the right of way was given to bury a line. Now,
I did not think of that. I mean,
so it needs to move off that farmer's property, off the Ellenberger property, and onto the property already occupied by the municipal authority.
Evaluate the risk of eliminating it. How's that? That's about the extent of it. I mean, if you need to put it down on the lower end, upon the lower high end, so we can rod from there all the way up. Don't forget, you can push it either way. You can push it from the manhole, or you can push it the other way.
It was about 600 feet is wide.
I realize that, and I understand,
You're not gonna rod that, you're gonna have to push it with water pressure.
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. So, I mean,
Ideally, you'd push it from the lower end up to the open manhole.
You have to,
I mean,
point of least resistance.
Mhm.
give us,
Yeah, we'll evaluate that. and give you a
I
recommendation.
have a big concern about this. I've already talked to this farmer in regards to what's going on there. He's not planting us in this fall, so there's no impact upon his cycle of rotations for his crops. And he has no problem with it, but I do want to make sure we have it deep enough. because
Mr. Chisholm brought up a good point. I don't know that right of way includes an above ground protrusion, and I don't think it does.
I don't believe it does.
So
Which
if
one?
at all
The
possible,
right of
we
way
can
coming down to
eliminate
the
that,
property, that'll be fine.
or move it to the schoolhouse road.
It's a right of way
down
from line in.
Well, the point with the schoolhouse road, we already got the manhole
Just a
that's
regular
there, so
road
it's
on the
not,
ground.
by putting a clean out in there, it's not
I
gonna
need to
really
look
volume.
at it.
So
Is it our
it's kind
standard
of
form?
that. What we could
Pretty much the
do,
standard form we use.
I find that we do want to eliminate it, we could
You
just
wanna
leave it
put-
in the contract and delete it out of the contract as a scope revision at the time it's awarded.
So we don't need a clean out.
And all they'll do is give us a deduct on it.
That's exactly right, because we got it called out as, you know. with the-
We already know what the price deductions are on it, so
Yeah.
they just get the deduct on it, and they just don't get paid that much more.
That's right, that's how I would suggest we handle that, because the bids are gonna be opened on Monday.
I understand that, but that's the concern.
Yeah, and I'll talk to Bill about it and see what his thoughts are.
We've oversized this line with the
Yeah.
intentions it's gonna have.
See, that was the thing that
simplicity.
bothered me, it was
I
oversized,
understand
because we
that.
might have the tendency for solids to build up in there, and that was one of the reasons why we put that in there, is because it's oversized, you're not gonna get the velocity through that line to scour the line to keep the solids moving, so if there's the potential for a buildup to occur, we wanted to give ourselves the ability to go midsection and work either direction if there was a blockage.
Understand that.
If I'm understanding, we're going to put a series of valves in there.
One here with a clean out of me here.
Yeah.
So you
And-
can stage it one way or the other.
Also, a valve on the line to Susquehanna going down currently to Susquehanna, the direction of Susquehanna,
To shut that off.
to shut that off. Change the flow from there straight up, none going down. We were also looking at the possibility of later on putting one at the school drive to bring the school up to the current new location. So we're going to need 3 valves there. One to shut it off so we can flush from Dersham's. One to shut the flow down to the school line where it currently goes.
And I agree with, I agree with Randy here, to re-engineer it now is way too late. So we should, whenever we're putting them in there, we're gonna have to make those provisions while they're, you know, on the fly.
So-
Understand what I'm saying?
While we're putting those valves in there, why can't we put the clean out in the same spot, and maybe we'll have to have a little bit bigger chamber?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I thought at that point there, that's where the
Yeah.
manhole was going to be. I thought there was gonna be a manhole there, the same as we have manholes.
Why don't we just get him to move this whole thing right down to the other end? Then it's not deduct, it's installed it just.
Oh, yeah, we can move it.
Move it down to,
Yeah,
on down the right of way out of Farmer's Field.
yeah, you're saying
Yeah.
closer to the schoolhouse road.
No,
No, closer to the 11 to 15.
Closer to 11 or 15.
Okay.
Right now, it comes
Well,
it comes down like this and goes this way.
We do?
Yeah.
Because I got the drawings here.
This is going down, right now it's going this way. We're going to interrupt it and add right in here. Is that not correct? This is going to be the schoolhouse road, the new line going up.
That's correct.
We're going to need valves here and here
Are they terminating the
and a
connection
clean
point
out to go in
going
this
down-
way.
going
They
down
should all
15?
probably go in the same place right where that beat
Excuse me,
is
Well, what
right
we
now.
did was we put a full clean out on 15 as well because we would express an interest in that we might be running that line, when we're talking about 15, we might be running that line up further to catch some additional.
Okay, we're talking about right here. Right here is that cleanout.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
There's no valves up on this end.
Nope,
This is all open down to
here's
here.
your valves down here.
Okay?
Yeah. This is where we're reconfiguring. This was tied in on this line. We're now reconfiguring to help assist the flow, getting some additional flow
Okay.
into this line.
Now, this is our existing line
Yep.
coming up right now. It comes up here and goes this way.
Yep.
You're gonna cap that off.
We're gonna cap that off.
There's no two-way valves in that end. That's why I just seen here. That's what I thought. What you're talking about and what we're doing is two different things here.
We cap that off.
Okay.
Because right now, all that is picking up these houses along here. And
But you're actually gonna pick this house over here up and put it in this line.
That's right, that's right. Because we want to try to get more flow through that line because it is 3-inch. And we were worried about not having sufficient flow in there.
This is the line coming down now.
Yes.
This is coming up and then it heads down towards,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
that's
whoa,
Schoolhouse
whoa, 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 whoa.
Road.
This is a separate drawing here.
Okay.
From here down, this is the only window. This is 1150.
Okay, and this is the current line going down to the school.
Right here, right there. This comes up this way and right this way
That's how
right
it's
now.
shown right here.
Okay.
That's how it is, that's the existing.
I would suggest we do not cap that off, but valve it.
Okay.
Reason being, if we would go down to somewhere on the school property and put a valve in it, let's just say down on the other side of the school.
Well, this valve, there is that valve there. We're just capping it. That's to remain.
He's discussing about having this tied into this system so you can reverse backfeed. You see what I'm getting at?
If we would get an application down at the middle school
Okay.
for 50 EDUs, we shut that line off down there and bring all the people on this side back up this way and up our schoolhouse road new line. It gives us flexibility if we just put a valve in the end of it here instead of capping it off.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I don't know the
We don't get
ramifications of,
redundant systems here to
Yeah.
cover our fannies, okay?
Right. I understand now what
if you're gonna have to open this and cap it, you can open it to valve
I
it.
mean, so what I'm trying to say is, basically, if you eliminate this little bit of work in here could be an even swap.
All they do is they connect from here to here, right? And we eliminate that. That's
Or
what-
they come up this way, and this comes over and ties right in. Or however, this would come right into this existing line, just ties into it.
Yeah, we would just reconfigure how this would be tied in there, that's all. Yeah,
I guess-
that'd be a minor change.
I was looking for the
I
price of
would
a
say.
valve there, it gives us a lot more
I mean,
flexibility
with
down
Trenching
the,
and piping.
and with a deduct on this,
Yeah.
we can pick up, maybe if we have to, we can put more flow in this for the time being.
Right.
We have the ability to do that, that's what
Right.
he's getting at. Because down in here, should be a clean out station somewhere, am I right?
Yes,
So you can shut the valves off the
Yeah.
clean out station and force it backwards instead of downward.
we have some of our, well, I'm not sure we can shut the flow off in there. That, what we,
There's an air
I'd have to
chamber.
look at it.
Should be air chambers in there.
But if we ever wanted to more capacity on the lower part of that line, all we'd have to do is put a valve in. If we don't have it at a clean out, we can put one in it. And then we don't have to dig this up again to reconnect it and come up this way. All we do is open that valve.
See, we're more concerned about the limitations of this line.
Right.
Due to the size of it.
Right.
And the distance of it, which has always been this issue, which is what's causing all this to occur.
What my concerns are is 11 and 15 is a development area. Sooner or later it'll happen. And if we can have the flexibility on this line, we could pick up a lot more EDUs on that line and send it down the way it's going now and bring these houses from the school district, along the school district there.
Gentlemen,
Up this way.
could we engineer it later and come on with this meeting?
So Randy, you got the change,
I see your point.
you got the changes in your mind?
I do. I just gotta note them, so I gotta figure out how I gotta.
It's not gonna affect our.
No, it's a minor.
It's minor, it's very minor. It ain't gonna affect the bid, no.
All right. Okay, are you done then, or are you?
I am done unless you have other questions for me.
Anything more for Randy? They can go home then if he wants to. Anybody? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, who's up next? Operator.
I have no report. Do you have questions on the DMRs?
They'll contact you, that's what I always put in the minutes. If they have questions, they'll contact you.
Okay, field representative report.
The report is in your packets. I have one addition to that report. It's today. The owner of Cove Center upgraded his wet well. He replaced the 2 Myers pumps with 2 E1 retrofits. Now that's at his cost and that's his responsibility.
Yeah.
But I think it's, what was that? Cove Center. I think it's,
Cove Center.
I think it's something the authority needed to be aware of. He has been, those Myers pumps have been experiencing some issues pumping against the pressurized, low pressure main that we have down here. And their stuff can't get out because of the slippage. And I think they're aware of the age of those pumps. So he upgraded to E1s.
Who did he have to do that?
Linker.
So he understands, so Mr. Lanker's got experience in making upgrades from one to the other now.
He has done it before. Mr. Linker is the E1.
I understand that, I just want to make sure he's getting more continuity with the transfer of
Right.
Myers' E1s.
Right. Next month, Mr. Chisholm and I are planning on doing the Myers grinder pump PMs, and we have plans to flush the water mains, Sunshine Hill, in conjunction with Duncannon's flushing of their mains and Petersburg Commons.
On the 10th and 11th.
All right, the 10th and 11th of next month.
What's the PMs on Myers pumps consist of?
Just look inside, make sure all the wires are connected, make sure the capacitors are in decent shape.
Because they're in their pits, aren't they?
Yeah, we don't pull those pumps, we're just looking at the controls.
Yeah, you're looking in the control box, make sure there's no corrosion,
That's
everything's
correct.
working
That's
fine.
correct. Yeah, and I think right now, I think we only have 7. I mean, double check that number, but I think there's only 7.
Did we get an updated price on what it takes to change them over?
No, we did.
I mean, he could give you that off the top of his head right now, because he just did it.
You see what I'm getting at? It's nice to just keep that in the back of our minds, so we have that as a thought process.
I get a question here. Are you done? This Mr. Ward called you about connecting a lunch wagon?
That's part of CC's report.
Oh, is it? He had talked to you about when he's going to install his system, didn't he?
What do you think?
I thought. Okay.
He did ask me what the scope of our project would be, where we had planned on stopping, and I told him at his property line.
Okay. What did he say?
Well, pretty much he said that's not how he interpreted the,
No, that's weird.
he said, I'm sorry, but that's how the municipal authority interprets it. So, whatever.
We're headed for.
Other than that, I have nothing.
Okay. Master meters,
There's nothing out of the ordinary on this master meters this time.
Cece's not here for the township.
But her report is here.
I have a brief question. I've been requested to show some of the facilities.
Where what?
I've been requested to show some of the municipal authority facilities
Where, who? Oh, you have been?
to an engineering firm that might want to bid on your work.
Oh,
Are you people on board with that?
I don't see any problem with that. Another engineering firm wants to look at our facility.
Well, if we're gonna do that, and we're gonna submit proposals, then I recommend we wait and give everybody the same opportunity and we do it all at one time.
Now, I can tell you what, you're never going to correlate me with a group of 6 other people, because they're going to want me to work at their speed. That ain't happening.
I understand that.
I would meet with them individually when I can, but that's that. So,
Well, I personally don't see any problem, if you want to do it.
but I'm not comfortable with going ahead without.
Does anybody got any other feelings about this?
I say we approach it very cautiously.
Well, you're going to be asking for bids. You already have directed in a past meeting to have Karen start looking at that and getting those ready. What happens when one of those companies says, we'd like to look at your facilities?
Okay, well then they turn around and they're more than welcome, but we have, is this one of these bids that we're looking at?
Is this one of the bids?
I'm assuming that's what
Yes,
the purpose is
this
going to
purpose-
be, is for them to
Yep.
be able to propose a bid.
Yep.
Well,
I need to know who she's been looking at then too.
Well, she hasn't, you just gave her the, to start. She's got that on her to-do list to come up with some names of companies, because nobody gave her any names.
Okay.
I just, given all the,
do we need a motion on this?
I don't think so. I just wanted to make sure that you guys didn't have
I
a
don't
problem
have
with
any
what
problem
happened
with it.
with it.
I don't know. Sam? You have a problem?
You know my opinion of engineers, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, whatever.
What are you saying, the only thing I go for is driving trains?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
All right, I don't see any problem, Ed.
Okay.
Where are we at? Solicitor, Mr. Chateau.
Is there anything on here, you asked about?
Yeah, Cece's report.
CC's report, you did ask about the, you want to go over that report?
Oh.
Okay, you asked about the, here, Joyce Ham, she's the one with the food court. Go over that. Make sure that gets submitted into the.
Okay, yes, CC's report here is September 2013. You have a copy of this report?
Yes, we all do.
Oh, okay. And she makes some comments about Mr. Board's asked about the gray water from this new, what's her name? Joyce Ann food facility, I guess. Is that what it is?
Yes, yeah, she's got it's just like I think he explained it to me as like a taco wagon.
And evidently they're gonna hook it into his treatment plant. Well, I don't know if we have any jurisdiction over something like that in the first place, do we? I don't know.
Very briefly, that came before the planning commission.
Yeah.
And we recommended to the supervisors, it was a conditional use. And we recommended the conditional use be approved by the supervisors upon the condition of disposal, that it was resolved from disposal of the gray water. Now, if it was a stick-built building, it would have to be connected to something. But this is a trailer, a mobile device like the Road Hog had down there. It's not any different than that, except they're going to do these ladies are going to do Mexican food. And so apparently they made the arrangements to be able to empty their gray water into the treatment facility that's now.
So
A temporary dumpster.
supervisors already approved it,
Yeah, I think it's going to sit where the diner was, and there's a manhole there.
Okay, well, we really have no business in it.
It's not really connected, it's just a dump.
That's my understanding,
This
yes.
is a mobile unit. It's
Yeah.
licensed and driving on the road, from what I understand, am I correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
although I anticipate them setting it there and leaving it there, but
I see it changing once we accept the responsibility of that.
and it's another EDU.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, he's limited, he can't access water to it because he's maxed out his
I
water
don't know
service.
if I even want to address this other,
So,
we got the holding tank
He
work
doesn't-
pipe issue again.
Well, where does he get the water?
Where is that?
He carries it.
Who, this
Joyce Ann.
trailer? I'm assuming they'll have some kind of refillable.
I mean,
Okay.
it's gonna be similar
Little
to
pump,
a
something or other.
camper that you have.
They'll carry their own water and then dump the wastewater into the,
Yeah, it would be gray water because there's not toilets, there's only the, I think, utility washing of some.
it's really not, it's really not, what people should be doing.
No, it's not.
It's like a lunch wagon.
If the township supervisors handle it, fine, I don't care. Let them do whatever. Where are we at here? Yeah, Debs.
Are you on me or do you still have things on CC?
No, we're on you.
Okay.
CC's is all done, right?
Yeah.
Even on the back?
I don't have any idea what,
Well, she asked a question there.
But she was addressing this at the PTS meeting.
Okay, no problem.
Under my report, there's a resolution, that agreement was approved last month, right?
Yes,
So
but there's an
that was to prepare
but Elmer now has a resolution.
Oh, okay.
PennDOT didn't like the way we handled it because we didn't have an actual resolution, so they sent Karen one, and somewhere in Elmer's packet,
Well, if you want to hand it down when you find it.
there's something that he has to sign and the secretary signs, meaning Mr. Holman.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I think we pretty much beat Morrison's situation to death, except that before he left, Mr. Bunt asked me about communication from here forward, particularly with respect to updates on their progress. How do we want the communication to occur, and who should be doing it, I guess, were his questions. And it's not a bad question to make sure that we know who, so we don't have people all over the place saying things.
He needs a point of contact.
Right, let's determine who's gonna do what, and we'll try to stick to that. He wondered, should he, Bill Bunt, contact me as a solicitor for the authority on updates? How should that be done, verbally or a memorandum, email, or whatever, or is there some other way we would prefer it? I don't care at all, but I think it probably is a good idea to have an understanding about how it's gonna happen. I think it's best, the more communication is usually better than less.
Well, the end result in this is anything that he does needs to be inspected.
Well,
So with the scope of that inspection needing to be done, the inspection agent should be the first one contacted to make sure he's underneath the proper things, and then he needs to keep us informed. That's the way I see it.
so you're saying.
That way, ain't nobody contacting one person, then we gotta contact the inspector, and we gotta do this, we gotta do that. So if the inspector's the first point of contact, he needs to give us, say, an email with updates on it weekly or whatever.
Who's the inspector for this purpose? Is it,
It is not Sam.
it's not Sam, is it the engineer then?
Yes,
Okay, so I
you agree with
tell
that,
him,
Sam?
and that's Hill.
that's Hill, yes.
So his contact in terms of updates and progress reports would go to William Hill, and then William Hill will communicate with the authority.
And with that being said, then he needs to be fiscally responsible because he takes care of everything fiscally on top of that. So there's no, am I right? That comes out of the escrow account.
That's correct.
Okay, so everything he does, if he wants to waste time, it's costing him and not only him.
Right.
Okay?
And we will just have to make sure, Randy would know to contact the authority about anything, but I can make sure he's aware that it has to be
Yes.
immediate contact.
Upon start of construction, it'd be nice if we had weekly email giving us an update, I think.
Okay,
You know,
I
just,
will communicate that.
wouldn't you think, Sam?
Yep.
You wanna give that to Dennis?
Okay,
You
I'll
think
take a
that'd
look
be good, Alan?
through this.
Yeah.
A weekly email, so
Yeah.
we know what the status is. And,
Okay. Then we'll have,
So save me from walking out there looking.
I mean, I drive by it every day, so it's not one of them things that I gotta make a special trip.
all right.
I started 2 sheriff sale proceedings, and I can't think of the names right now, but they're, of the 6 on the list, 2 of them are actually filed, and I have 3 more. The paperwork is, I've prepared the paperwork, my secretary simply has to complete it, finish it, and then those will be ready to go. Do you want the names?
They're on the.
I
they're-
can probably think of
No,
it.
they're on the list of bills to be paid.
So all those will be filed, the remaining ones will be filed here within a week. All 5 of those properties will be on the same track in terms of the sheriff's sale date, and that will not be actually held until January. Okay, the cutoff for that, I think, is late October, so all these will go on that same list. Now, as you know from past experience, when we file these and the people are served by the sheriff with the process of it, that tends to get activity, so I expect that I'll probably have
Is this
reports monthly about.
Yes, under.
Kistner and Howe? Kistner and Howe?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are 2 that, they may be the 2 I already filed.
Yeah.
And then there's 3 more that are.
Brosius, Daimler, Howe, Kisner, Roush, and then Chad Smith, if
And
you want
Chad
to talk about
Smith is the
him.
one that I circulated, I think, an email to the board about a proposal that it was given to me, and I can't remember right now what it was, but I think it was $80 a month would be paid.
Yes, that's correct.
60 would go, of course, towards the current bill. 20 would be applied against the delinquent arrears. And those arrears are, well, what are they? What number are they?
1159,
Oh.
$4,152,
So you got $4,100 to be paid at $20 a month. You can do the math. It's,
Long time.
It won't happen in probably anybody's lifetime that's sitting here. I didn't accept that because I thought, that's not very much money, but it's up to the board.
It'd be more effective if there wasn't that much structure there to be put down. It would go down. It's so high now, it's never gonna go away.
Well, you're talking about then you'd be paying, what, $250 a year roughly. It's gonna take you you're barely covering the interest. I didn't even make that calculation, but you certainly wouldn't be covering the interest on it by much if you're covering it at all. So I don't know what to tell you. I was going to proceed, but I thought, since we're going to be on, if you want me to proceed, I will. It'll still be on the same timeline as the other 5. It wasn't what I considered a particularly good offer.
I mean,
Maybe it would have been a little better if there had been some lump sum money put with it.
almost need 50% of it now, and then go from there, and it's still gonna take forever.
Well, what's the board's position on this whole thing? Anyone have an opinion?
We've been round the
The
block.
check has been cut, it's just up to you whether or not we void the check or not.
We've been round the block with them a few times, and I think there were payment plans, there were payments made and plans, and, it's just been a struggle, but it's a big balance.
I hate to do it, but I think you need to keep proceeding.
What do you think, you guys? What do you
What's some of the hardest decisions you're ever gonna make here? Yeah, it is. And
If I knew,
I'll second.
what was that? Proceed with it?
Yeah, that was your motion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine.
We have a motion.
I don't really have to have it, I guess, because I already was going to proceed. so-
All right, just go ahead and proceed.
Yeah. So that's the wish,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Keep in
We
mind,
already gave you that directive.
you did, and I just wanted to make sure, since I had a proposal from her that I didn't have before. What may happen with these, the banks, the mortgage companies get notice of these sales. And, we've had some success here recently with lenders coming up with the money, because they know ultimately that's probably what's going to happen. They don't like doing it, of course, and that's understandable because it comes out of the escrow fund, and they're going to struggle getting their money back, and in all probability, they're not getting paid either.
But they like to keep it underneath their control.
They do. But, it may work that we'll get some of these paid by them, because ultimately, really, they end up having to deal with it.
Yeah.
So let's hope that,
All right.
hope it works.
Can we talk about, account number 163 there for $15,176.35?
That one's going to sale.
I understand that.
Okay.
Now, Duncan Borough is in the process of disconnecting water to 2 of those units.
Where's this at?
163.
163. Oh,
Okay, they're in the process of disconnecting water to 3 of those units, the 3 that are on Lincoln Street. All right?
Mhm.
Now, all right, and the office states that it's possible for a tenant to pay usage fees. They may then deduct their payment from their rent paid to the landlord, which he states that's a provision in the landlord-tenant act. Is that a true statement?
I believe that I have to look to be sure. I'm working on memory here, and if I get over it, it gets more dangerous.
Yeah.
I think so. I think they then can have an option to make payment directly to the utility provider for the water service.
All right. Is that something?
And of course, that would then allow the
Is that
service to
something
be
Is
restored.
that something that we can offer their tenants, that they pay us to save their water? Because I'm going further with this.
Well,
I know where you're at.
yes.
All right.
Yep.
Now.
I mean, assuming that my recollection, I'll look obviously to be
Okay.
absolutely sure.
All right, now-
Because there's a whole procedure, Sam, and I know I sent something out a couple of years ago about it. I'll just have to dig it out and refresh.
Okay. Now, is a question here that I have, should Penn Township Municipal Authority send a letter to the property owner stating they will no longer permit the connection of additional units to the water and sewer system until the outstanding balance has been satisfied or a substantial payment has been made to their outstanding balance. They have blocks up there that do not have units on, and they have units that do not have tenants in. So.
And it's not our problem.
It's not our problem, but if they put somebody else in there, they're using our water, they're using our sewer, and they're not paying for it. So if we tell them they can't put anybody in there.
That I would have to research. I'm not so sure
I don't hear what he
that
said.
you can pull the plug before it's plugged in, if you follow me. We may have to, we may have to allow them to, now they need approvals from the township, I would think, though, to install and hook up new homes.
By the way, there's a new home being built up there.
Yes.
But anyway, where I'm heading with this,
Well, that's a Dynamo property, is it not?
No,
Oh, it's not?
no, that's Sam Crick.
I can look at that, Sam. It may be that we couldn't do it that way, but as soon as they are online and don't make a payment, then we would be in a position to cut off the water. You can cut the water service off there, right?
That's my next
Right.
question. That's my next question. After proper notification to the property owner as well as the tenants, is it possible to shut the water service off until the outstanding balance is satisfied or substantially monetary
And
payment?
you know, I apologize, but I'm gonna have to check that too, because this is different from the typical case where there's a single service to a single home. Here, I'm not sure how you do that, because all the water from the trailer park goes through one pipe, right?
And
That's correct.
it's not our lines either, there is lines.
But the water going to it's ours.
Yeah,
And we have good valves to shut it off.
Well, and I'm not saying you can't do it, I just have to see, because it's a little cumbersome there, then you'd be saying to one tenant, you have to pay the whole water bill to keep your water
yeah, that
restored.
doesn't make any sense either.
No, as long as they pay theirs.
Yeah, but you can't cut off part of it.
This guy is this is like Fausto Park.
I don't understand any of this.
He's a bulk
The
customer,
acoustics are
right?
terrible.
He is.
He's a
So I'm
bulk
gonna
customer.
have to see Sam
So I
before
don't
he
see how we
leaves.
can go in there.
Should-
I don't see how we
I'm
can do
just,
that.
those questions I'm just asking.
I'll look at it.
I'm
Maybe-
trying to
maybe
get some
they'll be-
resolution
I
for that and
appreciate
trying to
that.
work it
We need to
out.
figure out.
Who is going to shut off the water? I can't,
Nobody here.
This-
He's gonna check.
The
his
borough.
septic.
the borough is shutting off the water.
Yes.
The borough is.
He's using it as an example.
Shutting off 3 units on Lincoln Street.
Which are in Duncan, right?
They are
In-
on Lincoln
in the
Street.
borough.
Right.
No,
No.
they are in Penn Township, but they are Duncan water customers, the same as I am.
Well, okay,
All right?
all right.
They're gonna shut
Then they
the
can
water
do it,
off.
so there's units.
Yes. If that's the case, what?
That can't be right. We're billing them for water. You're reading the water meters.
Not.
Not on these 3 coaches.
No, we don't pay sewer for those 3 coaches. We
All right,
only
that's
bill-
what they're gonna do. They're not shutting the water off to them, they're shutting off the sewer service to them. They're gonna dig them up and disconnect them.
Okay,
That's it.
I know.
Water service.
They're on borough sewer.
Water services are.
No, they're on borough sewer. They're one of the 3
I'm
that
sorry.
got with that years ago.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misstated that
Okay.
they were gonna disconnect the sewer.
I will check those questions. And then in the meantime, he will, that's going to proceed, so.
Well, I think we have.
Something we'll have to
We have
have-
to deal with the bulk customer, is a reliably responsible party.
Sam.
I would say.
Can you let me that on your desk, so, because I couldn't
I
hear
gave it to Dennis.
because I couldn't hear what you were,
I gave it to Dennis.
okay.
I do have it, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
I have it on my, computer, I'll give it to you.
The other thing that I had on mind is the water connection, mandatory connection ordinance. I think I circulated the draft. That's not something you have to take action on tonight. And then I revised it. with
Yeah,
questions.
I think it's okay, I mean, with that revision.
Now, you wouldn't,
Okay with me.
you wouldn't be approving it, but you would be recommending the
To the
supervisor.
supervisors. Is there anybody that,
I'll second your motion.
to submit to the supervisor?
Mhm.
Okay. We have a, second?
I second your
Oh,
motion.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Susan, can you or Karen get that over to Alan?
I guess because I don't have it. You didn't send it to me.
Oh, I didn't?
No.
You know,
Now Karen's not gonna be here tomorrow, so I'll have her do it on Friday.
I don't know if I sent it to Karen either.
You know, I don't get too
Well,
many
it's
things.
really a rough draft, I may not have.
Dennis, if you.
Could one of you get a copy to
It's on
to
email,
Susan?
right? You got it in the email?
Yeah, I emailed it around, but
I
I'm
just
not sure
didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't.
You know, the subdivision,
You take care
Penn
of that?
Township subdivision ordinance covers this kind of stuff already. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Copy of what?
The,
Yeah, it covers some mandatory connection of developments, I think.
Mandatory
Is that
connection
what you're-
ordinance.
A subdivision, or something, where
Yes,
public,
for a
where
subdivision.
public water is
Right.
available, they must connect,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah. But I don't know if the,
This still, I think, would close a little loophole.
yeah, I think it would too.
Uh,
Plus it addresses the wells that are already in existence now.
Protects them.
Yeah,
Would
so,
you- Can somebody get it to Helen for the supervisor's review, just with, with the motion you passed, or you want me to do that?
If Sam don't get it to you, Susan, let me know in a day or two and I'll give it to you, okay?
It'll be more than a day or two, because I'm leaving town, but, yeah.
Well, it's gonna be more than a
Eventually.
day or two for me, because I'm not gonna be here until Tuesday.
Well, if you think I'm staying alone, you're not.
And I'm not going with Sam, so.
So somebody in your
I'm
office
running
at some
away,
point will
too.
get it over.
Somebody,
there.
at some
Okay.
point, we'll get it to them so they have time to act on it at the end of the
Yeah,
month.
and then you can just tell them, if you would, with the copy that this board recommends adoption.
Can I send
Right.
They may want to tweak it,
You want me to send it
which
to
is
Karen?
fine, their solicitor will have to
What?
look at it.
that was what I was worried about, whether it's
Right.
consistent with.
Yeah,
the
just in case,
subdivision
she
stuff.
may already
Yeah,
have
that'll
I'll
it.
be
send
their
it to
job,
you,
yeah,
Karen.
sort it out.
That way you both get it
Okay.
on, that way
Thank
you
you.
can check and balance it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, anything else, Dennis?
I can't think of anything else right at the
Okay.
moment.
All right.
This resolution, I'm gonna look at. Oh, is this all it is?
Yeah, that's it right there.
Just one page?
I don't know what their problem is.
Well, we just didn't have a resolution and they wanted it. They wanted to know that these guys are able to sign that document that they signed last month.
We already gave them approval to sign.
Do you think they're looking for a separate approval of this resolution tonight? I guess it would be.
Well, we're gonna have to, yeah, you're gonna have to approve the resolution because they want that.
All right.
And it looks like, it
It's
looks like.
fine with me. It does exactly what Susan just outlined. You're approving the agreement and authorizing the appropriate officers to execute it. I mean, that's the law.
So we can sign it right now?
Yeah. But I think you should have a motion to approve that resolution.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, motion's made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Where the hell was this?
And then somebody's gotta notarize it. I guess we're gonna have Helen do
Well, I
that.
better not sign it, they don't have to be in her,
Nah,
huh?
we're not gonna worry about it.
Technically should.
Yeah, that's what
I'll
I.
let you guys work on that. That's getting to be more of
I
an issue.
Okay.
There's an awful lot of fraud
It
going
says
on.
seal.
My title company has been going
I'll
crazy.
notarize.
Are you a notary?
It says seal, and that's why we wondered if it had
Oh,
to be
seal would be
notarized.
notary.
Karen and I weren't sure.
No, that doesn't need to be notarized. That would just be the authority seal, and nobody ever actually puts it on anymore.
Okay.
No, you can sign
All
it.
right, where do I sign it?
Right there.
Right here?
Yeah,
And put your title under your name.
yeah.
What?
Put your title, chairman, under your name.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me, sir.
I'll bail you out.
Wonder why?
You're not allowed to stamp it either.
Am I secretary again?
Yeah.
Yes, because somebody quit and you were elevated when you weren't here.
Okay.
Yeah, the days of
Got
the,
default.
Here.
the days of the notaries, I know they're getting more and more cautious because fraud is just rampant. The title insurance companies are on, I get memos weekly saying, man, you just wouldn't believe the stuff that's going on. Make sure the people are there. Make sure you get a copy of their driver's license. It's just, geez. Bad economy, it means more and more of that stuff.
Slippy.
Okay, is that good to go now?
Yep.
All right,
Yeah, I'll take it then whenever it's,
very good.
I'll get copies made.
All right, I guess we're down to the treasurer's report, huh?
All right. Bills, you looked at the delinquent report,
We
so.
already did the delinquent report, correct?
Yep, so we're at the bills. $101,000. The first big one, if you look down, is to Duncannon Borough for $14,000. That's your third quarter O&M payment. So that's just a standard one. The one to Eichelberger's for the submersible pump comes out of capital reserve. GNR Charles, that was for our portion of the Market Street sewer line replacement.
Yes, and I need to make a comment on that.
Can we do it after this? Because you're gonna talk about that article and all that stuff? Okay, yeah, let's do it after this. Boy, I don't know. Engineer fees were high. $3,000, I think, for the Market Street Bridge, or $2,000 for that, and $3,000 for DeKoven.
Too many
Anyway,
projects, he's getting in our pocket hard, but that's the way it goes.
and a couple of
You got a lot
those,
Projects you gotta pay,
yeah. So that's, 101,000.
Move that, checks be drawn and, we pay the bills.
Second? Second. Need second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, before you get into yours, I have a question for the solicitor. If somebody comes to me, a member of the public, and says they want to see the bill for, and I'm gonna pick somebody, Lenker's Excavating, can I show them that? If a member, is that a right to know thing?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, that's an invoice that's ends up being approved for payment. I mean, you can make them submit a written request.
I understand that,
right,
but I don't have to make them submit it, right? I just wanted to,
that would be something they would be entitled to see.
That's what I would thought.
After the approval.
Yes, yeah, because I don't think it's anything until it's actually
Yeah,
taken.
that's right.
Yeah.
After we approve it.
Right.
Because it's part of the minutes.
Right, it's just a piece of paper.
Right, and-
Now, the solicitor's bill is a different animal.
Okay.
Okay, because that could have confidential information on it. And that's been a moving target with the right to know people. So if anybody asks for that, you want to contact me and I have to see where it
No,
stands.
the only thing I do.
Sometimes we redact things off the bill.
Well, that's what I do now whenever, like Morrison, let's say you billed for Morrison or one of them this
You move it
month.
around anyway.
Then I have to either fold the paper and just keep,
Right, I
or
got you. But
try
I'm
to
saying
black it
some
out.
of the entries, even though they're being paid by the authority, some of the entries could be confidential.
That's correct, because it's got people's names on
And
it. Okay.
we may have to redact information if somebody makes a request. I don't know about the engineer's bills, but I guess I would say if somebody I don't even know what they look like, if they're itemized.
Somebody has asked to see the engineer's bills.
You may want to, recently,
Yes.
you may want to contact Randy and just see if they have a position on whether they should be released or not. He would probably be familiar.
May I ask
With
if
that.
that's a competing engineering firm that asked that?
Yes.
I'm inclined, just sitting here guessing now, I'm inclined to say they probably would have to be disclosed.
Yeah.
But again, there may be information on the bill which would be similar to my confidential communication information. It's less likely, but I would bounce it off of him and just see if they've ever confronted that before and whether there's some position that, maybe the Professional Engineers Association has a position on it and we can look at it.
Susan, anything like that comes up, please let me know. I don't appreciate that kind of stuff occurring, but I'll keep that back in my mind for future endeavor.
I have to wonder whether that's fair bidding, if you're gonna
not
bid
fair.
and you look at the other guy's bill.
Right.
I mean, for work done on an item, okay, but for like bidding for attending meetings, and you say, okay, I charge $20 for attending a meeting.
Sure, it gives you the ability to know how they're charging and to underbid them.
I mean, to that.
But I don't think that would be a reason that you couldn't disclose it. And that's competition. And you don't have to publicly bid those services. That's a professional service. You don't have to bid that.
Yeah.
You get what we call requests for proposals, and you don't have to go with the low. Okay, for law, engineering, accounting, any of those. You do not have to award to the low proposal. Okay.
All right, so the first thing I'll do is call Bill Hill.
I think I would just,
And
as
if
a
they
courtesy,
say they have a problem, then we're gonna have to check
You
with
may
the
have
right
to-
to know
you
law
may
to
have to
see if
contact
it's.
me and we go from there.
Okay.
And I think it's good that you let the authority members know.
Yeah.
Was that?
You need to keep the authority members abreast of all this stuff. It
Oh,
doesn't-
no, and I was going to, that's why I brought it
I
up.
appreciate it.
I was just asked about it. So, that's why I'm bringing it up. I want to make sure
Right.
that it's a right to know.
I
thing.
agree, it gives it does give something of a competitive advantage, I guess, yeah.
Now, the insurance companies have asked to see other insurance agents in the past. I've done that.
Yeah, I think that would be I don't know how you'd get around that one.
No, that was with the township, not here, because we've had the same one, but when they're bidding for insurance companies, they'll ask to,
Well, and things like that are things that you have to keep in mind when you're reviewing proposals for professional services. I mean, that's something that the board now knows that, maybe certain firms are going and doing that before they submit a proposal, and maybe, you don't necessarily award to the low proposal. That's a common thing. You underbid everybody, you get to work, and then the next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, it goes boom, 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 boom. Okay, that's nothing new.
Sounds like the Duncan situation.
That's been around forever. The idea is get your foot in the door, then you worry about the fees going up.
That's what you do with auto insurance too, isn't it?
I'd like to know how do you defend against not taking the lowest bid? What's the verbiage?
Well, for professional services, since bidding isn't even a requirement, there's so many things that the law says go into the contemplation of professional services that price isn't the only factor. Timeliness of service is a factor. How well they staff an account could be a factor. Okay, there could be any number of others that I'm just throwing a couple out. There could be
I mean, what they do is they give us a flat number of fee for hours or structures, okay? And then we turn around and we look at what we budgeted and we're over budget, and we turn around and say, oh, we made a mistake as engineers rating us, okay? But we've got projects on here that we did not foresee in our budget too. So the open mind process of where we gotta be, we want to make sure we keep the present one as honest as we can. Same atmosphere, we want to make sure that there's not something better out there. And it's a vicious cycle for us to do too.
It is.
And we're doing our best because we've changed engineers. There's been 3 engineer changes since I've been on the board. Okay? And the first one was when I was first in here and I did not understand any of it. But they come and go just probably basically to keep them honest.
Let me say this, justifying by law not going with the low proposal is a different animal than justifying it to your constituents. Okay? They may say, hey, prices, to us, that's the only factor. And then you have to say, well, it isn't to us. We have other things that we have to consider with professional services. It's an uncomfortable problem. But there are a lot of people out there that say you get what you pay for. And of course, if you get what you pay for, everybody would be using the highest price lawyer, the highest price engineer, and the highest price accountant. Sometimes you just can't afford to do that.
Yeah.
Just jack yours up and see what we do.
Well, that's that's the other side of this. I'll see authorities and others paying rates that are, well, I know of authorities that pay rates that are 2.5 times my hourly rate to people that don't have as much expertise in the area as I do. And I think, how the hell do you justify that? And that's the theory. You get what you pay for. And there are a lot of people that ascribe to that. The best lawyer is the guy that charges the most. The best engineer is the guy that charges the most. Sometimes, though, if I'm sitting on a board and I'm spending my own, or if I'm at home and I need a lawyer and I'm spending my own money, am I going to get the most expensive lawyer? Okay, and if the answer to that is no, then if you're sitting on a board like this, spending somebody else's money, okay, how do you justify it? I'm not sure you can. I'm telling you, it happens. And there's politics involved with those things. There are contributions to political campaigns, all kinds of things.
All right, where are we at here now?
You already agreed to pay the bills, so. the financial report. Jim, for your information, on the back of that, under revenue summary, if you get down like to the next to the last one, it says monthly transfer to capital reserve. Do you see that? Last year, we had finished paying off our share of the Penvest loan to Duncannon for the lower Duncannon sewer. So the board had decided to just every month take that $8,800 and put it into capital reserve. So I hadn't explained that to you when you were first here.
It's fine.
Future budget.
Okay. The only thing that concerns me about this is that available for operating expenses at the top right-hand corner of the back page is $65,000. At some point, we may end up having to pull money back out of capital reserve and putting it back up there because your bills this month were $101,000 and maybe $25,000-$30,000 came out of capital reserve, but that's still left $70,000. So theoretically, that may not be 1 month's operating supply, but we can worry about that later.
This is where some of this. Move to accept the financial report subject to audit.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
This is where our long-term planning comes into play, and that's what's getting us caught up right now, because all our projects are coming in from the long-term planning. And it's gonna be ongoing, so.
That's why the engineering costs are too. All right, executive secretary report.
I don't see one.
It was in the folder, I think.
Is there anything that we need to?
Not in your packet, but in the other folder.
In the common correspondence.
All right.
Writer's cramp this time.
Executive secretary. Payment agreement letters were charged for people who were notified that we were processing with sheriff's sale on their property. See attached. What happens when a payment is now missed?
All right, when she sends out these payment agreements and the people agree to pay and then they miss a payment, she wants to know what to do.
Proceed as prior, as whatever step they were on, in my opinion, whatever step they were on before they signed that, we proceed.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Now, the other members of this authority may see otherwise.
It just makes it null and void what they agreed to.
That's
That's simple. So
okay.
you go back to what it was.
Right.
The agreement goes null and void, you start over to the process, you move on to the next process private then.
Right.
You-
Okay.
You would not be surprised as to how many people sign those agreements
Sure.
and just thumb your nose at it.
It's by time.
File them another month. Or two.
Okay. All right.
Another question I have in regards to the delinquencies. I see that we were going to address something this month because nothing happened with the demolition. Do we want to address that?
Wasn't that in C, no, it wasn't.
No.
Was it in her report?
Nope, I don't remember seeing it. But I remember.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think,
Helen told me it's in the court.
yeah.
They turned it over to the courts because she didn't meet the deadline.
So I guess we just need to wait till they make their decision, is that what you're trying to say?
I don't know, I'm just telling you that's where the process for the supervisors is.
Do we want to address that as a topic of business for next month with Cece here? So we have a good discussion with it,
Let's see that.
okay? Make note of that, Susan, for next month's agenda, or?
Okay.
Okay. JOEC meeting, I guess we don't need a special meeting this time, do we?
Probably advertised anyway.
All right, incoming and outgoing correspondence, we have that. Old business,
Let's back up.
What?
When's the JUC meeting? Is it,
October 11th.
that's a
Six-
Friday, I got
6:30.
that as the 14th. Why do we have that?
I don't know, October the 11th.
But it is the 11th.
I don't know.
Should be a Monday.
It should be
It's a
should be the second Monday.
Yeah, October the 11th.
So she just made a mistake there and,
Typo.
Okay, it is the 14th then.
All right, so 14.
Oh, it's the 14th.
Yeah.
yes,
Okay, very good.
Should be 6 days after this meeting.
yeah.
Well, that's not the
Yes,
14th.
appreciate it.
Typo.
Is it the 14th, or is this the 14th?
Seventh?
Yeah, 14th is the second Monday.
All right.
Hey, I think, didn't you say we were gonna award the
Second.
the bid?
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right.
Which puts us out of the parameters, because
I'm
first
okay,
Monday was
that's
the last day of
next
Monday.
Right.
Okay,
Wow.
so this is the exception to
Well,
the rule of
you
6
got
days.
The bids.
What? The bids are being opened this coming Monday.
Yeah, but when are they gonna be awarded? They're
Awarded.
gonna be awarded after the JOAC
Yeah,
meeting.
JOAC.
Yes, he is going to award them after a JOAC, you're right.
Award bids, okay.
You mean at the JOAC?
Yeah.
Afterwards, at our own special meeting.
Okay, but it's part that same day?
Yes.
Night, okay.
They're opening the bids this coming Monday. He's going to get in touch with you,
Okay.
look
And
at
then
them
we'll be
All right.
ready to work. Let me ask, where are the bids being opened?
in the office here at 2 o'clock.
Okay. You don't need, you just open them.
No,
You don't need anybody. That's
Karen's
He'll
going
take
to be
care of
there.
it.
Good.
Get you to scan over it later on, you don't need to be here the way I
Good.
see it, we'll,
Yeah, I rarely have attended those, but I have on occasion.
if there's any issues before our meeting, then you guys
Right.
can address
Deal
them,
with them.
clean up all, plenty of time, okay? And I'm assuming he'll send us an email out with the projected information that,
Yeah, we'll probably have a whole.
I think it'd be nice to have an email that day or next day.
I'm gonna suggest we table the,
Probably be next day.
uninstalled lateral Railroad Street.
Table. COVID, that's the subject, you know that. Mandatory water connection orders, we've taken care of that. Morrison headquarters connection, taken care of that.
I think we let that on.
That's ongoing, you might as well just keep that on there, that'd be
That
next
on
month.
there? Yeah.
Yep, that'd be next month.
All right. Sunshine Hills project,
On.
Stone Hills digs, CDBG. New business, municipal authority resolution, what the hell's that about?
That's you signed it.
Okay. Highway letter, I signed that. Tashik property,
We just discussed that.
And we'll move that one up. Move that one up.
what did we discuss it, what?
We're gonna hold off on that until after we.
Township.
The township and the courts are gonna give.
Township had demolition thing on it.
All right, we're done.
No, we're not.
We're not, oh, come on.
I have one other thing to offer for the organization. Anybody read the Duncan record this weekend, or this week?
Yes,
September
track me
26,
down.
2016.
Oh, they're logging the water system.
They're logging off the water system. However,
Yeah?
council approved payment of $50,000 to GNR Charles Excavating for the Market Street Sewer Project that was completed in August. Borough Manager Lynn Roche said Penn Township had submitted a check made out to GNR Charles for his portion of the project. Here's where it gets a little dicey. Baumberger said that was not the process the payment should have followed. He explained that the borough had made an agreement with Penn Township's treasurer in 2010 that the borough would pay total cost for the joint projects and bill the township. Baumberger said that in past keeping track of who paid was a problem. Now, I'm going to give a little history so people don't understand this. The first phase was with Shea Industries. Whenever we were told that we were supposed to write a check, our portion, our percentage portion payable to Shea Industries. We did that. Duncan and Burr did theirs. There was some kind of confusion on how it got paid. So, okay, then we're fine. Duncan and Burr came up to us and said, okay, now, this is what we want you to do. We want you to pay a check, write a check of your percentage payable to Duncan and Burr. We will make one check payable to the contractor. We did that. Duncan and Burr says, hey, we can't do that. That's messing up our budget. Okay? Can't do that.
Back to the original.
So now we come out and we said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to write a check for our percentage to the contractor. We're going to hand carry that check up and give it to the Duncan and Burr. Duncan and Burr will write a check for their portion payable to the contractor. They will in turn send both checks to the contractor. All right? That is what was followed here. That is what was followed here to a T. I took the check up and hand carried it up myself. I knew that's what would happen. All right, now.
What happened then?
Well, evidently, what I'm going to ask now is, since that was not if that was not acceptable to Mr. Baumberger, I would like, for the municipal authority, I would like to propose that the municipal authority send a letter to Duncan and Burr requesting a written procedure as to how this is going to be taken care of, and we adhere to that procedure. All right, I talked with Mr. Hamaker this morning at length on that. I told him that at first I read it, I was very upset because it sounded like somebody was throwing a rock at us. And then I got to thinking about it, maybe just the reporter didn't report properly.
Well, they did not list the proper entity, they listed it as Penn Township.
Or maybe there was,
Yeah.
yeah.
To the authority.
Or maybe there was some confusion in how it was written up. I'm going to request that we send a letter to Duncan and Burr requesting a written procedure how to pay future JOAC contractual payments.
How do you want it worded?
JOAC contractual payments, because with the JOAC, we always have that percentage. All right? How they want us to pay our percentage.
Sam, am I correct, the contracts are between Duncannon and the contractor?
That's correct.
This authority's not a party.
That's correct.
Geez, I mean, I would think their accountant and their auditor would want them paying the contractor and us paying the borough. That's pretty simple stuff. That's basic accounting and auditing.
And that's how.
And if that's a budget problem, I don't know why that would be a budget problem for the borough.
It was explained to me that they don't, their budget doesn't work like ours, where they have money in and money out. It nutses up their budget.
I don't get it, but.
Well, I'm going to tell you what happened here.
I agree with you, it should be in writing and then it's clear.
The big bosses got involved.
The big bosses.
The treasurer from down there called me and asked, how would you want, let's decide how we're going to do it. How about if we each write our own check? And that's what we did.
Well, the contractor probably doesn't care.
You remember now, they have since changed office managers.
Yes.
But it was the office manager who was calling.
Not this one.
Yes.
The new one.
Yes.
Boy, for the borough's own protection.
And it wasn't in 2010, it was 2012, and that was for the joint operating costs of the water plant. That's when they're billing us as it goes for the water plant. That's why this whole thing is screwed up. Mr. Baumberger is comparing apples and oranges.
He's a councilman.
Oh, okay.
Now, is anybody else
I will-
agree that we should be sending them all?
I will write that letter.
There's two entities that manage the same operation, but we're trying to say.
I would entertain a motion to,
Just a second. Can we split this letter down because there are two different situations. You've got your wastewater treatment shared expenses, then you've got your road slash.
As I see this, the problem comes whenever you're dealing with an outside contractor. Our percentage for wastewater treatment always goes to Duncan and Burr. That payment always goes to Duncan and Burr. It doesn't go to an outside contractor.
You can't get into.
You see what I mean? If you want to include that in the letter, that's fine.
No, I'm going to use his wording, paying the total cost for joint projects.
Please emphasize that we are Penn Township Municipal Authority, have nothing to do with Penn Township Board of Supervisors. Mr. Holman made that suggestion.
I had,
Henry.
What's on?
All right.
Do you have something you want to talk about?
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Done.
I have a second.
You got it?
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I don't know who made it and who seconded it.
I did. Jim made it and I seconded it.
Thank you.
So maybe he didn't do it.
What's, Doug, you asked the CO in incorporated.
Get this thing turned on.